And we always edit out the beginning. So,
yeah.
All right. Notes, here we are. So the other thing I was going to close out is the call to action, Annette. So just at the very end, if I were to just put you on the spot right now, if I were to say, Annette, how do people get in touch with you? What's your answer?
I would say the best thing to do is to go to my website, which is www.AnnetteBloomPearson.com. But will you, and then I can also give my Calendly if people want to make an appointment. The hard part is Bloom is something that people often misspell. Will there be anything like written?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So what you can just say is just my link and Calendly will be in the description.
Okay, perfect.
Link them in there. Perfect.
Awesome.
All right, let's rock and roll. So,
all right, sounds good.
Okay. I'm really excited for today's conversation. What we're doing is talking about two parts of a process that can really change lives. And it's an honor to be a part of this. Annette, who you'll meet in just a moment, plays a really key role. In a nutshell, it is really difficult to utilize the proven processes that people use to build businesses if they're not in the right mindset and position to do so. So what we're talking about is how you can work with a coach like Annette. Annette, welcome. It's good to have you.
Good to be here.
What Annette does is she can really sit down with somebody and help them be heard and put a plan together to work through what it is that may be holding them back from the successes to which they aspire. Just to brag on her a little bit, because she's humble, she has a really illustrious history with some big names. I'm talking Google, Cisco, and big projects that are really impressive and awesome. And I'm still proud to just even know her and be a part indirectly of these amazing things that she's done. So thank you for being a strategic partner and collaborating on these things. And let's talk about the people that we help. So Annette, in a nutshell, the work that you do in helping people create those plans and work through the challenges holding them back from success, can you tell us a little bit more about what that looks like in an engagement with somebody?
Absolutely. And thank you for having me. What I do is leadership coaching. And what that means is I talk to people who are feeling a little bit stuck, who know that they have further to go in their careers, but may not be sure exactly where that is or how they're going to get there. So the type of coaching that I do is to really give someone space to talk about and identify their values and what their vision is for the future, where they feel most fulfilled, and then take steps to get to that place. And by steps, I mean, I'm there as an accountability partner to make sure that as they commit something for themselves, that they're actually doing it. I'm there as a sounding board to help with brainstorming. And I'm there as someone who can be a really strategic cheerleader. I am not necessarily there to give them answers or to give someone tools like you might be doing, but I'm really there to be an open space to explore and to find out what feels really, really good and how they can get from where they currently are sitting to where they will be when they feel that way.
I love it. And it's a powerful contrast that you painted right there and then, because just to explain it from my position, if somebody shows up and they can't clearly explain what it is that they want to accomplish and how they'd like to accomplish it, it's pretty difficult for me to help. And that's a conversation that can sometimes take a while to really dig deep and understand what it is that people want, because I think you'll agree with this. Often what we start out wanting often isn't even what we really want. It's sometimes what parents have told us we want, or society, what have you. So it's a tough challenge, but I'd love if you elaborate. What does the process look like to help somebody really uncover what they really want to accomplish and calibrate the plan to really suit them and how they move forward towards their goals in their own unique way?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think the first thing to recognize is that it could be a little bit different for every single person. But the basic structure of what I do is to sit with someone and first of all, understand what are the elements of their lives. And when we're talking about your professional life, we have to also talk about your personal life because they're so intertwined, especially these days, as we're all working from home and, our families are around. If you're not happy and feeling fulfilled with your whole life, it's really hard to bring your professional life to the next level. So we talk about where someone is feeling stuck, where they're feeling happy, and what those things do to balance each other out. Once we establish the elements where someone feels really stuck or frustrated or just totally unfulfilled, we think about what it would look like for those things to be perfect, or a 10 out of 10. And then we use that vision to explore different perspectives that someone might be able to take and apply to the way that they're approaching the challenges that they're facing. So there's lots of things that we can do and different tools that are available from the certification that I've been going through, which is through the Coactive Training Institute. And as we use those tools, someone may be able to recognize when they're feeling like they're being sabotaged by their own lack of confidence or their own inner critic. And we may also be able to discover some of their allies who they can call on when they want to really step up and face the challenge head on. So lots of different things, but the first part, as I mentioned, is we explore and identify what their values are and how those align to their long-term vision. And then we take those values and we incorporate them into the steps that we put in place to go not quickly, but step by step to that end goal.
I like the way you put that too, because in an interesting way, I'd like to frame that as that's the fastest way to accomplish your goals in earnest. Because if you want to go as fast as possible, it's easy to skip some of those important steps. What are my values? What do I really want? What's the right way to accomplish this? And early on in my career, I mean, I helped some people accomplish some goals that afterwards they're just looking around saying, what now? And it's usually because they didn't really calibrate their values ahead of time. And I've always been focused on the tools that people need in order to accomplish their goals. So I realized early on how critically important that is. And without it, success just doesn't really mean that much, because what is it if not in context of your values and what really your purpose is? And you said something earlier too that I also want to acknowledge. I think it was Einstein that said, so often the way that we look at the problem is the problem. And I think that's something that a lot of people forget when they're looking at their own problems, because they assume that they're looking at it objectively. And it's also just a conversation rattling around in their own head. But when they work with somebody like you, they have a sounding board, they have a framework, because your certification and the programs that you're utilizing here add a ton of credibility and just decades and decades of research and hard work. And how does the human brain process? And also, how can we really take advantage of things that might feel like weaknesses? Like you talk about saboteurs and allies. Sometimes those are reversed for some people. So it's just really, really important to understand, as they say, know thyself, and calibrate that with a plan that then you're really excited about. So I love this process that you go through, and I think it's so important. So thank you for doing what you do there.
Absolutely. Me too. It makes me so happy. I know that when I was transitioning out of the corporate world, I thought about what it is that really brought me fulfillment. And it was helping people, building plans, just doing things where I was able to take my skills and my talents, which are listening, brainstorming, connecting, and figuring out a way to get paid to do them. So that is what brought me to coaching. And I want to give people the same opportunity to figure out what it is that brings them that same fulfillment, and also figure out a way that potentially they can get paid for it, ideally get paid for it.
I think it's beautiful. And I think it adds a ton of credibility to your process as well, that you're not just somebody that advocates for it, but you're one that also does it yourself. And the fact that you took your favorite parts of your past jobs and applied that to what you're doing now is amazing. And one thing I want to mention too is an event, Shalon, that if you check the description, you can learn more about. I think that's also a tremendous testament to just your ability to listen and really understand somebody's experience, because it's not just a phenomenal culinary experience, but it's also a phenomenal conversation, an opportunity to learn and grow and connect. And I think that just shows how you take your work so seriously, because you put yourself not only in the shoes of the people that are there, but also in a weird way, almost putting yourself in their shoes, putting themselves in their shoes, if that makes sense, of understanding that often the biases that we come in when we just expect to understand what other people look through, it's incomplete. So you really have an in-depth process that you utilize to understand what people go through. And that lets people be heard in a way that I can personally say, both for myself and for clients that I've referred to you and people like you, they often feel heard for the first time in their lives. And that may sound like hyperbole, but once you experience it, you'll know what I mean.
Wow, thank
So,
you.
of course, no, and I appreciate this immensely. So, and that, I mean, I could talk about this all day long, but I think the reason that people watching this really should consider at least having a conversation with you or somebody in your role is you don't know what you don't know. And I think counterintuitively, it's sometimes the people that just say, I just know what I need to do, I just need to do it, that often could really benefit from taking a step back and testing that assumption. Because if you just know what you need to do, but you're just not doing it, you might be looking at the problem in the wrong way. And by really examining those values, putting together a plan, and being held accountable in a pace that's realistic instead of super stressful and aggressive and overwhelming, might be just what the doctor ordered. So I know you could share a ton of case studies about how you help people as well. And maybe we'll do a second check-in to talk about some of those later on when we have more time.
That would be
But
fun.
that would be fun. Let's do it. But Annette, my last question really for you, actually I have one comment that I think is kind of cool. I usually ask people on these, I say, why do you do what you do? But it's so obvious that you really know this process that you immediately jump to that. So I think, again, that's a cool example for the watchers to see that you immediately talked about why you do what you do, because you know how important that is. But here's my question. If people really resonate, which I would be amazed if they don't, and they want to talk to you, or if they really want to figure out how do I move forward with a coach, what's the next step that they can take with you to start that conversation?
Well, the best thing to do to talk to me and to learn more about what I do is to go to my website, which is going to be in the description, but just in case, it's AnnetteBloomPearson.com. And you can set up time with me through my Calendly link, which is Annette-Bloom-Pearson on Calendly. And that is a free consultation. So we'll be able to talk about what it is that someone's looking for from a coaching relationship, what they like to accomplish, and a little bit more about the process and the logistics. And that's just a quick half hour where there's no commitment necessary. So it's easy and painless.
I love it. And if it's the right fit, and even if you just go through the process to see what it would mean to have a coach and you see, you know what, I think I'm good, that can be really powerful because you can charge forward all the more confidently.
Absolutely.
But I can attest to the fact that when people really are, like I started out, and I'll close out saying this, when they know where it is they want to go, they know their values, and they have a support system like yours of really being held accountable in a way where it's not just about the mechanical step-by-step like I do, not to diminish my work, but it's an important counterpart. And they really can talk about the emotions of it, the challenges, things that pop up inevitably that were unexpected. That makes the whole journey so much easier, more productive. And not that it's the only purpose of why we do these things, but it makes it more profitable and more impactful on the impact that we have in the world. So yeah. It's an honor to work side by side with people like you. And Annette, thank you one more time for doing what you do and for taking the time to talk to me today.
Well, thank you, Leo, for everything you've done for me and everything you do for your community. It's completely invaluable.
It's an honor. So great things ahead. And I look forward to our next conversation.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Awesome.